Hello. Welcome to episode number 25 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choit, and someone recently made an interesting suggestion to me that something that I could do at the top of these shows is quickly mention someone that I love, or something that I love, and that could be kind of an ongoing thing that I do, as like a repeatable element or whatever. I'm sure that I'll do an episode or episodes eventually where some other person interviews me about someone that I love, but for now, instead of talking about some completely random shit or someone that I love, which I think would make a better full episode, how about I talk about something that I love? Something that's sort of new in my life, or at least something I haven't previously mentioned on the show. So this week's something is meditating. I've only recently started doing this, and it's more like I'm doing breathing exercises than actual meditation, but I found it to be helpful, and this really does relax me. I kind of have a system for this that I've been developing on my own, but basically what I do is I count to 20 really fast in my head with each inhale and exhale, with my eyes closed, and while listening to Ravi Shankar sitar music on relatively low volume. And after about 5 or 10 minutes of doing this, I open my eyes, and I kind of feel like I'm high. Anyway, I could go on about this all day, but I have plugs to do and an interview to share with you guys. So real quickly, my website is peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. Everything you need is on there. Please tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, positive 5-star reviews on iTunes are also helpful. And there's also a private Facebook group to meet and interact with others and talk about the show. That is called the People We Love Podcast Group. Anyway, today's guest is Satya Vanii. Born and raised in Kuwait to Filipino and Indian parents who are in the medical industry, Satya decided to do the one thing that would make her parents the most distraught: become an actor and comedian and move to Los Angeles. Growing up in Kuwait, censorship was very much part of her life. But one show she was able to catch, though, at a very young age was Donny and Marie. Yes, the Osmonds. Pretty much then and there is when Satya knew she just loved singing, dancing, being silly, and knew she wanted performing and entertaining to be part of her life. And it is. Satya's life has been quite the epic journey for sure, and this is quite the epic and entertaining conversation as well. That includes Satya telling me the crazy, amazing story about the time she actually performed on stage with Donny Osmond. Let's just get started. So it's good to see you today, Satya Vanii. Thank you for stopping by the studio. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam.
How's your day going so far today?
It's been great. I just felt like I just came out of a sauna. It's been really hot these days, which is great. We're finally in the summer, I think.
Is that your favorite season? That's my first question.
My favorite season is actually in the in-between seasons.
The in-between seasons?
Which I call spring and autumn.
Oh, yeah. I like autumn. I like fall.
I like the fall too. I love like jumping around on leaves that fall.
Yeah, I mean, in LA, there's not really much season. That was actually my second question, because I asked you, how's your day going?
Are we counting questions now?
Yeah, let me check off because I have a whole list here.
500 more.
How was your day?
Okay.
What is your favorite season?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I love this. It's like a little slam book back in high school.
We're on a roll here.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get right into it? Why don't you tell me about yourself and where you grew up, and tell me your life story and summarize it, and then I'll
summarize my whole life in 5 minutes.
And I'll just jump in whenever. Floor is yours.
I was born, I was told, head first. That far back?
I think that's the right way. I think you did it right. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
Well, the obstetrician told my mom that they couldn't believe that I was just a big baby.
You're a big baby.
They thought, yeah.
You were literally a big baby.
Yeah, they thought They thought my mom was getting twins. I just came out as a one whole baby.
One whole. How many pounds? Do you know how many pounds you were?
I was overweight, apparently.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Whatever the normal is, I was above that.
Yeah, I think it's like 7 pounds is like that.
So I must have been 7.5 or 8.
Oh, that's not that insane. I was expecting like 10 plus 14 pounds.
It could have been.
30-pound baby.
I could have been a 13-pound. I felt bad for my mom. Yeah. She blames me for a bad cake.
Do you have siblings?
No. Well, I have half siblings from my mom's first marriage. But I'm pretty much alone.
Were they big babies too, or you're not even sure?
No, they were not big. They were tiny babies.
So your biological father, your father, it's his fault that you're a big baby, perhaps.
Oh, okay. Now I can transfer the fault to someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
This is good. I'm learning something.
This is the earliest. Every time I ask people to tell me their life story from birth, this is the first one that's actually literally answering the question exactly. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were born, and then where did we go from there? What happened when you left the hospital?
Well, when I left the hospital, apparently my all right, let's go. Let's fast forward.
Sounds good.
Apparently, I didn't know how to walk until I was 2. Is this answering your question?
Yeah, is that late? Is that late to
It
walk?
is late.
I don't know anything
My
about
parents were worried.
babies.
Like, I didn't even know my name till I was a year and a half.
So you're a slow learner.
I'm a slow learner, but I don't
slow
forget.
walker. Oh, once you learn something, once you got it, you retain it.
I retain it for a long time, and that could be a good and a bad thing.
I've seen you walk.
You did.
Yeah, so I know that you can do it.
I totally can.
Yeah, you're good at it.
But my first steps weren't walking. My first steps was running, apparently.
You ran before you can walk?
That's what happened. I was chasing pigeons, and I thank them every day.
So you had to be inspired to.
I had to be
start
inspired,
moving.
just like anything.
I know they say that you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to walk before you run. Isn't that like a?
I think that's my problem in life. I leap before I even think about it.
Yeah, but that could. I guess that's probably a strength and a weakness. I'm guessing, or whatever.
I definitely dive into. Yeah, people call me brave. I mean, I dived into stand up without thinking about it, and that was very fun, right?
That's good. No, that's a good thing.
But yeah, so moving forward, I graduated and now I'm here.
Yo, no, that was fast. Wow, that was a blur. No, you got to tell me more. What? So after you started walking, then what happened? Walking and talking. We're rolling now.
Well, I grew up in Kuwait, where things were very conservative and restrictive, and where women didn't have much of a say. It's mostly men. So I went to a British school where they taught us how to have free thoughts. Think for yourself. Where I grew up in a culture where you couldn't, where I had a strong, opinionated dad who thought what's best for me. So it was very confusing. And then my mom's Filipino, my dad's Indian. The only language they could understand besides love is English. So I learned English was my first language. This accent is not my original accent. I put it on, and now it's me. I had a British accent before, and when I did have a British accent moving here, it wasn't as cool as it is now.
When you moved to the United States, because I know you moved.
I've been traveling back and forth for years, but I just noticed every time when I would work these survival jobs, and people couldn't understand me because it was way too strong of an accent, and they're like making fun of me, and I'm like, all right, instead of saying the trash, I'd say the bin. I'm like, I would ask the guys in Ralph's, I'm like, where's the trolley? They're like, what the heck are you talking about? Oh, it's the cart, so, and then people would ask me, like, how did you work on it to make it more natural? I'm sure I still slip here and there. I just kept, every time when someone made fun of me, I would stop them, not to stop them from making fun of me. I would tell them, like, okay, so how do you say it? And then I would turn it into a teaching moment. Yeah,
why not? Take advantage of it. So you learned English in Kuwait, and you grew up there, and like this was like kindergarten through high school, like pretty much all of like my
whole life. And then I went to a British school where we had to learn French, so I learned some of that. And then living in Kuwait, you had to know Arabic, so I learned that too. Then my dad wanted to make sure I knew Hindi, so he made sure of that too. My mom didn't teach me Tagalog, which is the Filipino language, until I visited Philippines. That's when I started to learn the language. So I got confused because
I think I'm confused right now. I'm trying to do a tally in my head. So why don't we just do a tally? So how many languages do you speak?
Okay.
And what are they?
Arabic, Hindi, French, English.
That's 4.
I think that's 4, isn't it? Did I mention 5? I don't know.
No, you didn't mention 5.
Or Tagalog, Filipino. Did I say Tagalog?
No, I think that's 5.
That's 5.
So, but British English and American English.
I guess that could be 2 languages.
Sure, why not? We'll count it. So you were saying that you
do accents count as language? No,
I don't know. So you were saying that you attended this British school.
Yeah,
and it got you to be more like free thinking.
Yeah, they made us think a lot, and so
be open to like new ideas and things like that. And how did that like how did that play at home? Why, if your dad was such like a, kind of strict.
It's a typical Indian dad. Like every family, there should be the next medical doctor.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be the next medical doctor. I mean, I could have tried, but it was just so overwhelming for me because it wasn't my interest.
Yeah. What kind of ideas were you bringing home from this British school that like your parents were like, what the hell is this girl talking about?
Well, I can't pinpoint any, but just like the fact that, when, I don't know, something really simple like, don't do this, like, don't, I don't know, for example, don't kick the table.
Yeah.
This is a stupid example. Other kids would be like, okay, sure. I'd be like, why? The table doesn't have feelings. I'm not making a dent. It's a light kick. Like, I would like think about out loud, like, but why?
Yeah, you're very inquisitive and curious kid, it sounds like.
Yeah, I would ask a ton of questions. I mean, even Boys to Men, when I first met them in Philippines, they thought I was a reporter.
Did you just say Boys to Men?
Yeah.
The group?
Yeah, it was funny.
The R&B group?
Yeah. They came to visit. This is moving fast forward to when I was in Manila.
That's okay. We can jump around.
We could jump around. But yeah, I just, in Philippines, it's not as, I don't know, I guess it's easy access to meet celebrities and musicians after a show or whatever. It was easier there. So I would just ask them a whole bunch of questions, and I was just elaborating on how curious I am. I'm a very curious person.
No, maybe we'll flip it and you could interview me and I'll answer questions and sit back and you could do all the asking. Maybe we'll see how that goes.
I ask way too many questions and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to know something about you. And they're like, what do you have? I'm like, I don't know. Just tell me whatever you want. I want to hear more about other people.
Yeah, interesting.
But anyway, so yeah, then my dad was very strict with what I could and could not watch on television. So I'm going to go into how I even fell in love with the whole entertainment creativity idea.
Yeah, tell me all about that, because you told me a little bit about it earlier today when we chatted, but I would love to hear more about that for sure.
Well, as I shared earlier, that in Kuwait, they are very strict with what we can and cannot see. And, they buy shows, and sometimes it could be very late. Like maybe I used to watch this cartoon, and it was like bees that fell in love back in the 30s. It's a 30s cartoon. It looked really old. I don't know. It was a very old cartoon. And they would love repeating cartoons, and I'd watch that. And it was just interesting because like they would fall in love and like by just dancing around the trees and all that, and then they had babies, and it's like you just see a sudden cut, like you didn't see them kissing or anything. Even cartoons were like censored.
Yeah.
And as I shared earlier, like everything is censored. Like when I watched Sin City, it was basically 20 minutes. I mean, I'd spend the same amount of money for a ticket like I would for a 2.5-hour movie. And I didn't understand the movie. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. This must be like avant-garde movie, Sin City.
It's just the religion and the culture over there. It's just very...
They're very careful what they share. They don't like to share too much violence, too much sex.
Those are all the best things.
That sex and violence makes Hollywood, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
To explore that aspect, which I've been missing my whole... Now I found the answer of why I want to get into entertainment.
Yeah, we figured it out.
Sex and violence.
Yeah. We answered it all. We figured it out.
Finally.
Therapy session's over.
Yes, thank you for saving me a few $100s.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
But yeah, so, I got to watch whatever he enjoyed, and it was Laurel and Hardy, Tom and Jerry, and then it was just like either that or extreme adult music, which was like Bee Gees, ABBA, and then a lot of English sitcom comedies that we would be able to see. So some others do have them. Mind Your Language was a couple of them. And then I grew up with Blackadder because I would go to the British Councils to explore more comedy. Since we didn't really have a public library, that's all I had was a British Council. I had no access to internet. Like it was, everything was very
controlled.
Yeah, so all I could go is, and then I got in love with watching Blackadder, Monty Python, and all the other also comedy shows, and that was my influence. But it was very exaggerated. It's very vaudeville style, and I love that. But I didn't think about comedy at all. I just had fun watching. And then Donny and Marie Osmond show was something I really enjoyed. It was very entertaining. They sang, they danced, they were funny. And my dad was sure that there's no sex or violence because it's all a family show.
Sure.
So then finally it just hit me one day. I'm like, Dad, I want to be on stage with Donny.
And how old were you when you came to this conclusion?
Well, it was funny. I shared that with Donny Osmond later about it, and he's like,
we're going to get to it.
And I think I was 3. I don't know. I already knew what I wanted since I was 1 or 2. Like, I knew exactly.
You knew what you wanted to do when you were 1 years old?
Even though I couldn't run or walk or move. And I know I did know how to move. I crawl. Apparently I didn't even know how to crawl. I just like shoved with my butt all over the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew what I wanted.
You knew what you wanted when you were 1 year old?
1 or 2, yeah.
How is that possible? Because I don't even understand how to know. How to know things.
I just enjoyed it so much. I'm like, I didn't know it was a profession. Like, oh, this is what I want to do for life. I'm like, I just want to do it.
Do you remember what's your earliest? I mean, obviously, some of these things could have been told to you by parents or relatives, whatever. But what's your earliest memory?
I have better memories when I was a baby, like young, as opposed to like what I ate yesterday. It's interesting.
Long-term memory.
Apparently, like I shared, I don't learn things quickly, but when I do, it stays in there.
I guess so. Did you when you had all this like sort of limitations on what you could watch and what was in the country, were you like aware of all the censorship and what you couldn't see?
I didn't.
Or was it just kind of like, oh, this is what I know and this is my world?
That's what I thought.
That's what you thought. You didn't feel like you were being limited because you didn't know that you were being limited. Is that the case?
I didn't know I was being limited until I started being able to travel alone, like with my school. I was one of the performers at my school to represent my school in different countries. We went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and different festivals around Europe. And then I got to be exposed to all this culture, which I didn't know existed. And that's when it started making me think about things.
And how old were you at this time?
I think I was 12.
And you were doing theater? This is theater?
Yeah, I got into theater, which took me a while to get into. Is this okay with the cops behind us?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. People are being murdered, but we have podcasting to do, I suppose.
Podcast is more important than things getting murdered around us.
Yeah. It's a reality show here. You don't know what's going to happen here. I probably will keep that in. But yeah, so you were traveling through Europe when you were about 12, going into theater. You were in theater and all that.
Yeah, I auditioned a lot, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to. Basically, like they would always be at the end of a school day. Okay, who has show and tell? Who wants to share? And I would always be like, me. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I just got up and started talking. Apparently, that was an earlier stand-up experience.
Yeah, that sounds more like improv, maybe.
Improv,
Early improv.
And I would do whatever I could just to entertain the class because, like, no one would go up and, like, no one had anything. I'm like, I have something to share. And they're like, my class, I'm like, oh, my God. My classmates were just like, no, and again. Because, like, every single day I'd be like, me, if no one wants to. I don't know what I was sharing, but I did something. I wanted to perform. And that was just something, I didn't see as something serious. It was a part of who I am.
What did your parents think of this when you told them when you were, well, you couldn't speak when you were 1, you said. So whenever they realized
I could speak. I just didn't know my name.
Oh my goodness, you're full of contradictions. Like, I could see this already.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to find my answers in comedy.
Yeah, aren't we all? In some way, in one form or another.
Oh, all my pain is definitely coming. And then, being called weird a lot has helped.
That's never happened to me. No one's ever called me weird, so I don't have that problem.
Yeah, I've been called weird. I'm like, great, now I finally can. Apparently in comedy, the weirder the better. I'm like, yes. Yeah,
you found your calling, but you never actually really answered my question. What did your parents and people around you think when you were expressing all this interest in performing and entertaining and?
Well, I didn't know what was going on. I just did it because it was something natural, and my parents didn't think of anything other than. Well, my dad later on shared with me like the reason why he let me get into theater later on. Like in the beginning, it was part of the curriculum of my school.
Yeah.
Like to become a whole person, you need to do this. You need arts. You need language. You need maths. It was just part of the curriculum.
Gotcha.
And well, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival it happened by accident. My Arabic teacher, they usually have this thing called Arabic nights, and she gave me a monologue, and she's like, okay, I want you to memorize this. And I was very good at memorizing much better when I was a kid than now. Like I could memorize scripts like within a day. Like it was just easy for me. And now I have to like, I don't know why, but I have to like think about it. You know, there's more layers. I think as a kid it's easier to, because you have nothing to think about. You don't think about paying bills or anything. I think that gets in the way.
Is it also maybe when you're a kid, you're just thinking about memorizing the words and that's it? And now as like a professional performer, you're thinking about, what is my motivation? How should I say this word? How should I move? Yeah, you're thinking about everything else.
Should I breathe?
Yeah. Am I breathing correctly?
There's way too many facets to deal with.
Is that what trips you up?
That could be it. I don't know, but definitely, you know, when you're a kid, you have more parents. That's why I guess it's easier to memorize that many languages I did when I was a kid. It was just everything just sucked in real quick. But you know, so I work on it all the time with my memorizing. Like I still like, that's why I love sketch comedy. Like it just keeps me on my toes. So when I have an audition or anything, like it's easier for me to memorize. Like, oh, okay, I got 2 pages of this to work on. Okay, cool. We're working it like an hour, and I'm cool. That's why I like doing sketch comedy. And not because of memorizing. I enjoy. I could do a lot with it, knowing, and then doing improv within the sketch. That's kind of fun. Like 2 in 1.
Is it easier to memorize words that you've written, I imagine, or is it not even matter?
To be honest with you, I can't believe it. I wrote a group sketch and I had a hard time memorizing my own words. And I was like, just as much as someone else's words. And I was like, interesting. And I asked one of my co-actors, I'm like, why is that? It's my own words. And she's like, it's a different brain you use. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see it that's true. Like I just saw it as a writer. I didn't think of it like, okay, I'm going to write it around my character, all about me. I just thought of like what serves a comedy.
Yeah.
And so it's another side of my brain that I'm using. And then when it's time to act, I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Who am I?
Yeah, when you write something, when not you specifically, but when anyone writes something down that's meant to be spoken aloud, it's a whole different world. Like when you're typing and you're hearing something in your head, and then once it starts to get, you know, spoken out loud, it's a whole nother world, memorizing it and just figuring out how it should sound and all of that.
So going back to your question, which I haven't answered yet.
No, you kind of did, I think.
Yeah, though my answer is not complete yet.
That's cool.
In my head. Basically, well, I fell in love with this, like I had a crush on this one guy, and I'm like, ooh, this is a really good looking guy. And then I'm like, oh, he's in a school play. My music teacher was saying, like, anybody want to be in the choir? I'm like, okay. I don't know if I can sing well, but I'm going to audition. And because it was a choir, it's a school, so whatever. Anyone can be a part of it, I guess. And then I just started and then I kept auditioning every year, and I could never get a role. I was always the group.
You didn't get a solo or anything like that?
None of the principals. Yeah, I could never like do any of that stuff until I did this Arabic monologue where it was all me performing.
Singing?
This was just it's a monologue performing about her son that she lost.
Yeah.
And it was all in Arabic, and I was crying and all that sort of thing. And then my theater teacher who auditions people, and the music teacher, like they all came, and the whole theater department, and they're like, why don't you audition for our plays? I said, I do, but I must suck. So
you auditioned and they didn't even realize that you've been auditioning?
No.
You're that memorable, huh? Oh, man.
Thank God they didn't remember it, because if it was that bad, I'm glad they didn't. Anyway,
But you got better, I guess, maybe. I guess it's possible. Is it possible? It's possible?
Possible getting worse, yes.
Oh, no.
No, but so basically, when they saw me perform the monologue, they're like, hey, would you like to be part of our play? And the play was about the Gulf War. And we were going to go perform at Edinburgh Fringe Fest. I'm like, oh, but you guys have been rehearsing for a few months. How can I be a part of it? Because there were no auditions for that. That was already pre-cast. They already knew who they wanted. They're like, we'll just stick your monologue in our thing. And it'll be about you lost son in war. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I asked my dad. He's like, sure, go ahead. And later on, the reason why he said I could do it was so I could be more sociable and learn how to talk better and just not be such an introvert, so I could be more social.
Didn't sound like you had that problem, though, if you're already always volunteering at show and tell or whatever.
Yeah.
Did your parents saw you in a different light
I
than
think
maybe
so.
how you really were and how other kids saw you?
I think I might have been more of an introvert with my family, and then when
Right.
and in school, I must have been a totally opposite person.
I think I'm like 4 different people. I'm the same
Really?
person, but 4,
Which one am I looking at?
I
Do
don't
they have
know.
names?
The latest one. The one I'm whatever I want to be in that moment. In the moment.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
But yeah, so when I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I interviewed every single actor there. Every professional actor. I'm like, hey, so what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? What do you do? Like this. I'm like, but how do you pay your bills? Because my dad said you can't pay your bills. And I want to know,
funny.
how do you do it? And then so I called my dad right away. I'm like, hey, Dad, I can be a professional actor.
Oh no!
And that was the biggest
Don't scare him.
mistake he made. Yeah, yeah.
Biggest mistake he made.
He said he made.
Oh,
because
is letting you go to this.
that I went to the Fringe
The
Festival.
Fringe Festival. Is this in Scotland?
Yes, Scotland.
Yeah.
Yes, Edinburgh. Yeah, Edinburgh. Yeah. So that's when my dad saw something very what do you call? Not threatening to something threatening to him.
Yeah.
He's like, no. This is not a real thing. This is a hobby.
But I could play a doctor. I could pretend to be a doctor,
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
That's almost as good, right, Dad?
I did reach out to the Grey's Anatomy casting director. I'm like, hey, my dad wanted me to be a doctor. Can I play one here?
Yeah.
to please my dad. But so yeah, that's when my parents, answering your question, which finally I feel like complete now, when my dad and I had started getting more conflicts than we used to, in terms of like, so it became a full-time hobby. I basically would study at school, and then all my extracurricular was theater. So
from age 12 on. So.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So then I started getting roles in plays, and it was so much fun. And then, I got bullied a lot in school. So I would spend my breaks just hanging out in the theater and just sitting there and just like,
Yo, why are all my guests getting bullied? The last 7 out of 9
it
guests.
seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe because they're drawn to similar people as them, and with the host here. I don't know.
Well, I got bullied since I was a kid because I was an overweight child. Like I couldn't lose the weight that I was born with, apparently. And
Fat baby.
I was a fat baby, and I couldn't lose the weight. So, now I'm going backwards, but
That's okay.
I kept being called lots of different farm animals.
Oh no.
And I was like, and then I would get beaten up by kids, and I'd go home bruised and crying, and I would talk to the principal, and I'd ask like, please help me, and they would call it fairy tales. They wouldn't help me. They're like, oh, you stop saying fairy tales. So I had no help.
They didn't believe that you were being bullied?
No.
But you just said you had some bruises. They just thought you fell or something like that?
Yeah.
They didn't want to deal with it.
They're like, you can't tell on other people. You can't be gossiping about. I'm like, but I'm getting bullied. So
What about fighting? Did you ever fight back?
I didn't know how to. So
Yeah.
my dad would send me to karate school. And that's when I learned how to defend myself.
Oh, shit.
And so when I went to school and people would try to beat me, I would defend myself. But then I landed up being in the black book. They call it the black book, where you're a bad kid. So I would always be in the corner because I knew how to defend myself. So when I would respond back, I knew where to attack them. So they would I would try to shut it down so they
Right.
would continue. And the only thing, but apparently they believed the boys over a girl. Maybe because I was twice their size. I don't know what was going on.
That's fucked up. And I heard this someone talking about this recently, is that a lot of people go through life, especially like if you're in like a first world country, but or wherever, is the only place that people actually experience physical violence and physical threats is at school.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the safest place for everyone.
That's a good point.
The most controlled environment filled with children who are like the most innocent people, and that's like that's the only place where people get threatened physically in their entire life. It's crazy, and it's so insane how like exactly what you just said is that like the person who fights back is the one who often gets in trouble. Who ends the fight gets in trouble just for defending themselves. Or like you'll tell an authority, oh, so and so started it, and then they'll say, oh, we don't care who started it. That's all that matters is who started. That's what matters the most is who started it. Oh my God. Okay, we're going
But
on
there's a documentary called The Bullying Project, and they interviewed teachers, and they're like, so what do you do when a kid comes up to you? Half of those teachers were blank faced. They didn't know what to do. This is how they responded.
They need to teach kids how to fight. If every kid knew how to fight, and all these kids were capable of really hurting each other,
no one would.
Yeah.
But well, to be honest, then we landed up having. I don't know what it was called, what we called it as kids, but it's basically like free fight. So every
Fight club.
I guess we had our own fight club during breaks. So every time when it was break time, these bullies were like, "I'm gonna beat you up." Every break, I'd have to like, as soon as I was done with class, I'm like, "All right, here it goes." I was always by myself. I had nobody with me, and I would just like when it come to the fighting, like all the girls would be like, "Okay, see you later." Kid, like we don't want to be a part of this, and I would be walking. I'm like, okay, and then I would look over my shoulder and just waiting for the first guy to beat me up.
Guys would want to fight, and
mostly boys.
And how old were you?
This fighting, like I learned karate when I was 4 or 5 years old, so it started since.
So this is younger when boys were.
Yeah,
it's not like high school guys or even middle school.
High school, it I had some bullying there, but there was a different form of bullying.
Yes,
but when you're kids, yeah, we're pretty much similar in strength,
right?
So they don't see, I guess, gender.
Yeah,
when you're kids,
in a bad way.
In a bad way. But yeah, so, and then I would land up with like me on one side, this guy on the other side. And it's the funny thing is, I just reached out to him on Facebook the other day. I'm like, hey, do you remember me? He's like, I don't know who you are. I'm like, oh, wow. You have no idea. You were trying to beat me my whole elementary school. And then I didn't check my Facebook after that. I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't remember.
Blocked. Wrong answer. You were supposed to say yes, and then you were supposed to apologize.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to, I don't know, make reparations in some form.
But yeah, we basically had fight club every break time. And then these boys started outsourcing. They were beating up girls too. So these girls would come up to me like, hey, this boy's beating me up. I'm like, who is it? So already these boys started developing fear after they started seeing like, okay, this girl we can't beat her up anymore. So I ended up having girls all behind me and fighting. I felt like a prophet, or I don't know what I was. But
wait, so you girls were fighting on your behalf, or you were fighting
for them?
For them,
because the boys would beat them up too. I don't know. They started outsourcing after they can't beat me up. So like, let's beat some of her friends, and so I would be called like the protector, and I would beat all these guys, and then all these guys that would be with the bully gang started converting, and they came into my team. We had 2 teams. And the teachers had no idea what's going on. They all thought we were playing.
Yeah.
I didn't. They were just looking, and they're like, okay, and they just walked away.
They just want to collect their pensions or whatever.
I guess so.
Oh man.
But as you get older, bullying transforms to another effect. I mean, even till today, we still get bullied, and on the streets of Los Angeles, when the way people drive, they're like, they press their horn as soon as it turns green. You're like, seriously? Everyone's like in a hurry. I get it, but it's like, or like not the other day, but a few months ago, a friend of mine was driving, and I was in the passenger seat, and my friend, of course, you have a blind spot, so they didn't see it. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, and they're like, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Sorry wave.
The sorry wave. Then my friend did the sorry wave, but they couldn't let it go, and they were trying to hit our car.
Like bump you off the road?
Yeah.
What the hell was this, a video game?
So bullying doesn't end, and you just have to find a way.
Yeah, there's people, you got to be careful, not just you, but all of us, like with who are dealing with out on the road, because people have some serious road rage, especially in this town. Jesus, man. Oh, man. Oh, man, people are angry. I just thought of something.
Yeah.
What happened to that dude in choir, that guy? You were like, I signed up for this dude, right?
Yeah, I had a crush on him. So, I mean...
You guys are going out next week.
We were kids. And plus, I wasn't his type.
He wasn't that Facebook guy that you followed up with that you...
No, this is the bully. This is the bully.
Yeah, this guy was cool.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. What I really liked him because he was so confident, and he was just like... I admired his confidence. And then when he sang so beautifully. I'm like, wow. And I've always wanted to sing. and then my mom would be like, no, shut up.
Oh, man.
Shut up.
Bullied at home, too.
Shut up. So every time when someone could sing, I was just something I was drawn to. And I think that's why I kind of had a huge crush on him. Like, I just wanted him to sing. I didn't want him to talk. I just wanted him to sing all the time.
Sing the conversation.
Just sing the whole time.
Did you tell him this? Did you be like, yo, don't talk to me. Just sing everything.
I wish I had.
Sing past me that pencil or whatever.
I wish I was smart enough to speak that way. I was always like nervous and shy around him. But thankfully we got to be cast in a play together, and that was fun. It was in a play where we were both we married and everything.
Oh yeah.
But of course we're in Kuwait, so we could only hold hands.
Yeah.
But he knew that I liked him, but I didn't confess it to him until the last day he was out of school. Like, I really liked him a lot.
And what did he say? How did he react? He's like, "Oh, thank you."
He wasn't awkward. He was that made me like him more. Like, wow, he's so gracious
He took
about
it all, yeah.
And he was like, he wanted like, do you want to spend time before? Like, he was just so nice. And I was like, wow, I actually fell and I fell for someone that's not a jerk. I was so proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too for that.
Because you don't know. You're like, oh shoot, I fell in love with a jerk.
Because I've seen some women, you know, especially in this town, fall for some jerks, and I'm like, come on, what the hell? You don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see it. You're just too mesmerized. So I try to like, if the guy's way too good looking, I really focus like he could be a high alert jerk.
Yeah. How do you become a bad boy?
No.
I think the fact if you have to ask that question, you're never going to be one. I think that is pretty much that.
You should do a tutorial like how to be a bad boy and just suck at it. That's funny.
Yeah, how to be a bad boy.
Yeah, and interview all these guys. That's funny.
Okay, so anyway, we're in theater. We're doing it from 12. We went to Edinburgh. Where did we go creatively?
Oh, then I went to Shakespeare Globe.
This is how you
in London. This is the same trip.
The 12 when you were 12, you were going on tour. That's amazing.
So then we had like a workshop because my school's one of the sponsors for that Shakespeare Globe. And so we had a workshop, and then I interviewed the actor there as well.
Were these actual interviews or just conversations with a lot of questions?
I call it interview because it was pretty much like what we're doing right now. Like, I would be like, bum, 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 drilling, like, with questions.
Oh, I'm not drilling. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I call it interview because that's what they kept saying. Oh, you're interviewing me. I would always have that comment because I was just so curious. And then we did this workshops and everything. And then the staff or whoever handles Shakespeare Globe, they're like, ask my teacher, they're like, hey, would you be okay if we try to recruit one of your actors? And that was me. They wanted me to be a part of their group. And then my teacher's like, well, she's underage. We have to ask her parents. Of course, my dad said no.
How old were all these actors at the Shakespeare Globe or whatever? They were all like just...
They were adults, but they also...
They had roles for kids.
Yeah, they had roles for kids. So they were like, we'd love to groom you and everything. I think you have potential.
Wow, that's quite the compliment.
So that was nice. I had beautiful opportunities as a kid. I don't know what happened now, but that's okay.
You gotta go to England and get back in the theater.
Go to England, get back in my English accent.
Forget this screens for the screen and all this.
Forget saying trash, say bin all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know how to say garbage correctly.
That's pretty much it.
Aluminium.
Rubbish. But yeah, so then what happened? Well,
were you mad at your dad for like not letting you?
For years, I was upset with my dad. For years, I mean, we didn't really have a normal conversation without me getting upset.
Yeah, a lot of underlying things going on there.
I was a teenager as well, so that didn't help. I had a lot of hormones.
Yeah, I wanted to play football, but my Jewish parents wouldn't let me.
Oh, why? Well, we damage your brain.
Yeah, and plus I'm 5'7.5", 120 pounds, and not particularly athletic, so that didn't help either. They made the right call on that one.
Oh, good.
Hopefully they don't listen to that because I don't want to let them. I don't want them to get big heads over it.
Oh no. Well, sometimes they like to be complimented.
Yeah, they were wrong about everything else, though, how they raised me. Just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, I could go in different directions, what you just shared. But so Donny Osmond was my influence. And then I told my dad, I'm like, then I made a promise. When my dad used, Indian dads, they call their kids beta, means child. So he's like, it's okay, beta. And that wasn't like a yes or a no. It would be like, it okay, beta. That's it. And you're like, can I do it? It's okay, Beta. I don't understand.
That's not an answer.
I don't. So I made it. So after he said that to me, when I said like that, I want to be on stage with Donny Osmond. I made a promise to myself, like, one day I'm going to be with him on stage. I said, I'm going to do it. But of course I didn't know as a kid, like, shows don't last forever.
Yeah. And weren't you already watching Donny and Marie in reruns at that time as well?
I didn't even know.
You didn't even know it was reruns.
I didn't know.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know I mean, as a kid, I didn't know.
That's the funniest shit. I swear.
And so years later, they had a Christmas special. And there's a part where they ask anybody in the audience. And I got a really good seat in the middle.
And this is in LA.
This is in LA in the Pantages Theatre. So then he picked me, the audience. but I was all the way in the middle of this whole aisle.
Yeah.
By the time I could get out, this other fan ran on stage, and I was like, "Hey, that's my chance."
Yeah.
No, so I bought another ticket, and I would talk to all the fans came up to me later, like, "I'm really sorry you." Like they felt like, I guess they saw my disappointment in my face.
Yeah.
Like, "I'm really sorry that you didn't get a chance to go on stage. That wasn't right of that fan. That was your chance." And so they told me, like, "Okay, this is the plan," and they gave me a plan. Like, okay,
Aisle seat.
I have an aisle because I didn't know he picked from the audience. I just thought I was just gonna go.
What
watch
show
it
is
play.
this?
It was a Christmas special that
But
Donnie Marie
then they
did.
just had some audience participation stuff.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I was told that it's the same show they do in Vegas, and apparently this is their last year, and they're done. I guess they're gonna do other things. They'll never stop entertaining these Osmonds.
That's what they do.
That's their life. Yeah, and they're so good at it. So. I don't know which day. Maybe the next day, a couple of days later, I'm like, okay, I got an aisle seat. Spent another $200 plus. I don't know. And I was like,
you love this dude.
I was like, no, I got picked.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back because I wanted to get to, to utilize that opportunity of what I wished when I was a baby. I was like, okay, this is my chance to utilize because like you make these wishes, but then you got to also take actionable steps. You can't just make a wish and just sit in your house.
Right.
And make it, hopefully he'll show up your doorstep. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, you got to take a step and then the universe hopefully will meet you halfway.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I was like, okay, I got to do something about this. So these fans said, okay, this is the song he plays. I forgot what song it was. It was a song. It's the one where he's like a young, when he was playing young Donny Osmond, and he would have this face with a cardboard on him. And like he was 17. I think he was 17. That's what I was told. He said, I think, in the show. And then he would do the same movement like he was a kid, like as if he's not old, like he's really healthy and fit. And then right after that, that's when he picks the audience. And that's what I'm like, is that always the same way? Like the fans like, yep, that's his.
Oh, you knew. You were ready. You went into this prepared.
I did a whole research. Like I could spend an hour.
No, I got
about
you.
It. So basically, the funny part was I had this older lady next to me, and she was like, she had this weird vibe about me because she knew I was up to something.
Yeah.
Which I was. And she kept looking at me like, I'm like, it's okay. She's like, and she kept giving me these weird looks. And
you had the game face on.
I did. And I was like, and then as soon as that song started, these ushers, this is not Justin Bieber. So there was not much security, nothing. No one cares as much, These are older people that loved Donnie for years and they're respectful. I was one of the few young ones that were hanging out because of their parents.
Yeah.
And so I was there, like, I was in my starting racing position, about to run, as soon as the song was about to end. And this old lady was next to me. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Shh, I gotta focus." Like, no, I'm not
don't talk to me right now.
Don't talk to me. "What are you doing? You're making me nervous." And I'm like, "Please, don't let me lose my second." So when I was doing that, I looked behind me. There were so many fans who were about to do the same thing. They were all ready to run. I was like, "Oh my God." And I was glad I was in the third row. So before Donnie could say, "All right, this is the time when," I couldn't even finish his sentence. I just ran. I ran on stage and the ushers was like, "Okay, what's going on?" I've never seen like a young girl run like this fast.
Yeah.
They weren't even like trying to stop me. And then I tried to be non-threatening by running away from Donnie. Like Donnie was in the middle of the stage. I ran to like
That's smart. You the smart thing because you don't want to
I don't want to run
get
towards
tackled
him.
by security.
No, I just want to be on stage. So part of his act. So I ran stage right, all the way to the stage right, and I just stood there. I was like from far. I was like, "Hey, Donnie!" I was like shouting out loud because I was so far from him. Pantages Theatre is huge. I was on complete end of the right side.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then I waited for him to be like, "Come on over." I wanted him to invite me.
Sure.
And he's like, then he saw that, okay. And he wasn't threatened at all. He was just happy. I think he hasn't experienced this for years, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably his youngest fan and it's right on stage for the previous 35 shows that he's done.
It must have reminded him when he was a kid when girls would go crazy over him. He's like, "Oh my God, I still have
He's
the
having
thing."
flashbacks to 1975.
I think it excited him more than anything. But I wanted to be sure. And then when we started talking, and I was like, okay, when I meet him, I'm not gonna blank out. So I kept saying pointers in my head, like, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this. And I kept talking to him, and then I was like, "Hey, when I was young, I said, I had a crush on you when I was a kid."
And you said this in front of the whole audience.
Yeah. I said a lot of things. And then he's like, "Oh, so you were 1 year old?" And then I started laughing. So So you must be 9 years old now. I said, yeah. And, he was trying to make fun. And he was very good at just joking around.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't stop talking because I'm like, finally, I get to speak to him, right? So he gave me the microphone. He's like, hold on to this. I guess he had a lot to say. So I'm like, all right. So I kept going.
He let you talk. He kept going in the middle of the show. Oh my goodness.
I mean, the fans get like, I think it's like a 2-minute, 3-minute segment, where they have a fan interaction.
Yeah.
But I think it went longer because of me. I don't know how long it went. I just kept talking. And this is the time when he goes to the back and then he picks up a flower, and which I didn't know what he was doing, but and then I started singing. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he gave me his face thing. He's like, okay, here, hold on to this. It was that face that made me look like he was 17 years old. So I put it on my face, and then I started dancing, like he was dancing in the previous number. So I started doing dance moves, and everyone was laughing because I looked stupid.
But you were having fun.
I was having fun. It was a fun laugh. Like everyone was with me.
Yeah.
So I was like looking stupid, having fun, and then everyone was laughing. And then I'm sorry. Then that's when he gave me the microphone. He's like, "Here, have the microphone. Seems like the audience likes you or something." Like he was just so cool and supportive about it. Then I took off the mask and I started singing. I'm a little bit country, and then Donny Osmond interrupted me, and he's like, "Marie, go home." But yeah, we were chatting a lot, and then but it wasn't even a chat. It was more of like a skit.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys did a performance together.
We did a performance.
More than like you being like just a fan up there, starstruck and crying, and I love you, Donny.
No.
You had maybe a moment of that, but after that, you were like, I'm performing.
Yeah, and that's what I felt. And then he started talking to the audience about, hey, is everyone following in social media? He's trying to get followers, just having his little talk with the audience.
You talking about get you followers or him followers?
He was asking if I'm following him. I'm like, yeah, of course.
You were following him, I guess.
And then he was asking the audience, then he's having a conversation with the audience about follow me on Twitter and all that sort of social media. And then he was going on about advertising stuff. And while he was doing that, I had my own solo moment, and I just looked out into the audience and I couldn't see anything. It was like pitch black, and just because the lights were so strong, I was like, this was good. And then I was like, oh my god, and then I forgot about my, and then I remember, oh my god, my wish came true.
You didn't realize it until
no, I didn't.
Minutes later.
I was just too focused in making sure I get to meet Donny Osmond, I think. And then after the show, and then basically on that flower, it is a code on it. So the whole thing I did with him, he gave me a video so I could like watch it later.
And you still have that?
I still have that video.
Is that online?
I can't unfortunately, I'm not allowed to advertise or anything. I just took like a screenshot of us hugging each other. Yeah, that's all. But then I didn't even hear what he said when I was leaving the stage because I was on such a high. He's like, if any time I need a rainy day, I know who to call, Satya. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. So he was just very, very, he's very good with his fans. I learned a lot just being around him. And then later on, I got to work with him on a show, which was just like, I didn't even know he was part of the show. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm next to Donny Osmond right now. I didn't even know.
And what show is this?
It's a show I can't really talk about.
Oh, so it hasn't aired yet?
It has aired, but I can't really talk about it. But I didn't know I was next to Donny Osmond until later. That, oh my God, I'm with Donny Osmond because I was too busy. Like, we're all together, just being performers.
Doing your job.
We're all peers. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I learned a lot. And then I watched him on stage performing, and I was like, wow.
So you had another interaction with him?
Yeah.
Did he remember you?
I didn't remind him because I was being a professional actor. But if we were in the green room together, I would be like, hey, I bet he might have remembered me because I did definitely make a moment.
Wait till I tag both of you on Instagram. Then we're going to get some answers.
Okay, that's funny.
That's right. You got to send me, seriously, I'm going to ask that you send me whatever you can, like screen grabs, photos, whatever. I'll take anything you got.
Oh man, it took me 2 weeks to like get over that high because I was like, wow, Mom, because if something that you wanted so long, and then you're like, wow, it finally happens. It's like you're trying to like calm down. And then when I met him the second time, I wasn't as like high. I'm like, this is because when I'm an actor, I'm like I'm a different.
Yeah, it's a different environment, obviously.
But and then I got to of course meet Marie. Marie Osmond is more approachable. She even had her own show. It didn't last long, but she would always hang out with her fans. And my dad was a doctor, dentist. He studied to be a medical doctor, but then he got into orthodontia, and he did my teeth. And he's like, he loved Marie Osmond's smile, and he's like, you know, I'm doing your smile is similar to Marie Osmond.
You got your braces and teeth in the style of Marie Osmond?
Yeah, we have the same smile. We took a picture together. We have the same smile.
That's funny. I'm gonna do research on this later.
So I told Marie, I was like, my dad, because my dad told me, because Julia Roberts, her dad was a dentist as well, I think, or somebody was a dentist in her family, and she thanked them. She's like, I thank them for my teeth. And my dad's like, if you ever make it at Hollywood, you better make sure you mention my name. So I said, sure, why not? Of course I will. Because of you, I don't look crazy.
How did your dad and your family and friends react when you told them the story of the first time you met Donny and were on stage at the Pantages and all this? You went by yourself, you said, right?
I went by myself. I do a lot of things by myself because of the way our lifestyle is. Everyone is always busy, so how did people react when you told them, "Oh, I was singing on stage with Donny Osmond"? And well, I missed an important part of my journey, of my journey since I was born head first. But the fact that my family agreed when I went to Philippines, I didn't come straight to America. I wanted to soul search. So I went a little bit to India. I went to Philippines.
And this was after high school?
After high school. Yeah, I was soul searching. Now I'm going back and forth. Sorry, but there's one little...
So you kind of live part-time in LA now and part-time in the Philippines?
No, now I'm full-time in LA.
Now you're full-time in LA, yeah.
But
at the time.
When I did this when I performed this Arabic monologue, this is a big deal in Kuwait. The Ministry of Education shows up. A lot of big people come. It's a big deal because our school is very well known for theater, plays, and performances. I didn't know that. they're just big on that. And then he came up to me, started talking to me, and he's like, "You did a great job, da da da." And then he's like, "But who are those people?"
This is your dad asking you this?
This is the Ministry of Education who's asking. He's like, "Who are those people?" I'm like, "That's my mom and dad." And they're like, "No, they're not." I'm like, "What?" Then I got confused. I'm like, "They're not my mom and dad?" Like, I even believed him for a second. I'm like, no, wait.
He said it with such certainty.
Yeah. So I was like, wait a minute. No, they are my mom. Because I was a kid. So I was like, I guess you can be swayed. I don't know. But it was just weird how I was convinced. I'm like, no, wait a minute. How do I get home? My mom and dad. That's right. No, they're... And then he looked at me odd. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were full Kuwaiti." I said, "No, I'm just born and raised here, but you speak just like a Kuwaiti." And I said,
"Because I was born and raised here."
Yeah. And then after that, he just gave me he was like disappointed in me because I think he just was hoping someone he became a fan of was from his own blood community. I don't know. But so that started putting a question in my head, like, aren't we all equal? Because I didn't see a difference between anybody. I just thought we were all the same.
Yeah.
We just all had different skin color. It didn't make it... I couldn't tell a difference, I think. And...
that's how kids... kids think. It's the parents and other people around them that teach these ridiculous things.
So then I started looking at my parents in a different way when I was 12. I started... Like, I didn't see them as, like, the gods. Like how we always see our parents, like, the best in the world. Yeah. I started questioning, like, who are my parents? Who are they? Oh, they're not Kuwaiti. Like, so, wait a minute. Like, all these questions started percolating. And then it just got worse with my questions of who am I and what am I and all that everyone goes through in high school.
Sure.
So that's why I'm like, Dad, I think I want to check out.
I gotta get the fuck out of here.
I want to know where you guys are from.
Yeah.
So I went to India, I went to Philippines, and I stayed a little longer in Philippines because I wanted to pursue a career there in the performing arts. And so my family finally agreed when they saw how I was so depressed. I was super depressed. Like, I wasn't happy. Because I got into pre-med and I was depressed the whole time. I wasn't like myself. I was quiet. I didn't speak. I was pretty much just sitting there, like, not being human. And I think they started feeling sorry for me, and they finally like agreed, like, okay, maybe we should just try. And then when I got my first paycheck, and I don't know what it is equivalent to American dollars, maybe like $5. I don't know. It was such a little paycheck, but I was so happy.
Paycheck for what?
For acting in Philippines.
Yeah.
And that was my very first job. I never really did a real job until I moved here. Here you can't just act. You have to do other things. But in Philippines I could, I guess because the price of living is
money goes
much
further
lower.
there.
Yeah. So when my parents saw how happy I was with a $5, for example, it was that little. It was very little. I can't remember, but like a $5 check, they're like, wow. And I remember my dad saying to me, it's like, I'm never this happy as you are for that much, like,
wow.
No matter how much money I get. And
That's quite something to say that.
So he's like, you know what? I really want you to be happy. I finally realized I did something wrong. But the best part was my dad started buying me clothes because as a kid, my dad would always buy me clothes that were just covering everything.
Yeah.
Like my breasts, my butt, everything.
Very conservative.
I just look like a potato sack. I might as well just wear a potato sack.
Yeah.
You know? And also my dad wanted a boy, so he dressed me up as a boy for many years.
Oh man.
So
we don't have enough time to get into all this.
So anyway, yeah. So that's when the shift happened, and my dad's not here anymore, but my mom is. And she was just so happy for me. She's just happy when I'm happy. I think that's where we're at now. She still tells me that I can't sing, so I don't sing in front of her.
I heard you singing a little. I'm a little country. I could tell. I could tell people can sing just singing in a few words. I could tell.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I took voice lessons and everything. Maybe one day she'll see me singing, but I just I can't. I think I can't handle someone close to you saying you can't sing because she used to be able to. She used to sing a lot. She was a singer.
Oh, I see.
So she was very.
Yeah, I gotcha.
She has high. Okay, what do you call that? Like
soprano or whatever.
Sorry, I meant
range?
as in
high standards.
Standard is the word. She has high standards of what really is a singer and not singer. I don't consider myself a singer, but I can sing.
I gotcha.
So I did musical theater for a little bit for kids, and that was interesting. Singing for musical theater for kids because they're all screaming, so you can't really sing. You have to almost like belt the whole song because no one can hear you.
Yo, how come crowds always sing in key? Is it just because some people are high and some people are low and everyone always balances each other out?
What do you mean? I missed your question.
I feel like crowds, like whenever like at like a sporting event or at a concert.
Oh, they're on a tune.
Yeah, they're always in tune. They're always in key.
Well, it kind of cancels
Everybody
out.
balances.
I think it does.
But there's always seems like there's an equal number of people who are at high and equal number of people who are sharp and flat.
It's amazing
they
how
all balance each other out.
It's like white noise. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I want to ask my vocal
Like crowds
teacher.
always sound like they're in key. That's what I need to sing. Well, I need to have 14,000 other people backing me up. That's right. Keep me in key.
Well, I mean, a lot of people influence my creativity. Michael Jackson as well. I learned a lot. That's another story. But if we're focusing on more on the comedy aspect, which I'm at right now.
Yeah, sure. Let's get into what you're working on now. So you were how did you get from the Philippines to the U.S.?
I flew.
You took a plane?
I'm so bad. I hate being a smartass, but sometimes
No, that's fine. I'll roll with it. I'm going to ask you what you ate on that plane. I'm going to ask you how the flight was. I'm going to ask you who sat next to you. What airline was it? You can't out sarcastic me because I'll call your bluff and I'll ask for all the details.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, what was your question?
I don't remember. No, how did you journey from the Philippines to the U.S.?
Well,
where did how did life's journey take you?
Well, I was supposed to go and go to Juilliard and all that, but then when my dad passed away, I did not want to be in debt, and I just didn't know. I didn't know. There was no one guiding me. No one told me what I should do when a parent passes away.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Oh well, it happens. Hopefully just once. I'm just kidding. Oh, that's bad. That was a very dark joke. Sorry about that. I got a joke about it, I guess. But yeah, so no one really guided me how to be an adult. And I'm still I feel like I'm still a big kid sometimes. Like I don't know.
I feel it's a little bit similar. And I feel like many people, especially in this town, are just big kids trying to act out there.
Maybe that's why I'm okay here. We're all big kids trying to be adults.
Yeah. Or trying to figure out how to still be kids, or adults trying to still be kids, or big kids trying to be adults, or
I mean,
I don't know.
I just wish our education system would teach us about how to do taxes, how to budget. Like they don't teach you the things that you
How to not beat each other up.
or that too. That should be a whole
No, I know.
semester.
No, so it's just education is just about memorizing dates and multiple choice tests.
Trigonometry and all that. One day I'll use it.
Yeah, stuff you're never going to use. Memorize this date. Jamestown 1507. It's not boring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did I just bring a flashback?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so how did you get from the Philippines to the U.S.?
I flew.
Oh, my God. You got to go.
Okay.
Kick you out of here.
Give me 5 more minutes.
Kick out my first guest. No, it's all
There's
good.
always a first. I'll make headlines. Great.
All press is good press.
But I didn't get straight into acting.
Yeah, because you need to pay the bills or whatever you.
Yeah, but I
go to
would
debt.
like me. I always like talking to people and seeing what it's like. I started talking to a lot of cameramen and a lot of cinematographers and directors and DPs a lot. I just enjoyed how they thought.
In the Philippines.
Here.
Oh, here.
We're talking about now that I'm here.
Yeah.
After flying.
Oh, after flying. So basically you just decided to come to the United States.
No, I was already coming anyways.
You were, yeah,
And
kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
I guess
But
so.
I was supposed to go to New York and I decided to come to LA instead.
Mm-hmm.
I started interviewing all these people because I just loved how directors thought. I loved how DPs talked. I just like how they saw things. I just enjoyed it. And
I love talking to creative people.
I did. And then like I talk with actors and I'm like, okay, that's nice. And then I'm like, oh, let me go back to this DP. Like I just enjoyed it. And I started hanging out with them a lot. And then some of them invited me to Panavision. So I got to see their workshops and how they checked cameras. And I just started being around it more. So I became an assistant camera operator. But I couldn't carry anything. So like this was heavy.
Yeah.
It was so heavy. But they were so nice. And I got to be a part of Society of Camera Operators, which is a very good organization for people who want to get into the camera department. They really help each other out. So I got to have a lot of opportunities to meet with the big, all these Oscar-winning camera people. It's
amazing.
It was just the most amazing experience. I got to be on set and just hang out with them. And I just enjoyed their life a lot because it's something that I didn't really look into. Because I was just like, point at me, I'm in front of the camera. That's the only world I knew. And I was like, wait, I don't know what made me get into more curious. I think I just enjoyed how the quality of Hollywood is so different from anywhere in the world, I guess. And I was just so moved by how beautiful the pictures looked on screen. I was like, God, it looks amazing. So then AFI, they needed actors. And so I would go to all the cinematography classes and be their object whenever they needed my skin tone.
Subject.
I felt like an object because I had to be still for hours. But I enjoyed it. You know, I was like, okay, how do I be still? I got to listen to the class. Otherwise I'm going to fall asleep. So I enjoyed just how they would, so it was fun. And I did that for a little bit, but then I started getting projects, independent projects. And then every time they were like, okay, who wants to be an extra? And I would always put my hand up.
Yeah, you're down for whatever, it sounds like.
It's just so funny. Sorry?
I said you're down for whatever. You're very inquisitive mind, curious.
But the DP's like, don't do that. You are a camera department. I'm like, okay, you can't do that. And then I started. Then that bug started coming in for acting. Like, again, like okay, like I always enjoyed acting, but I didn't take a break. It just so happened I got lost in this department and I enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, God.
Don't enjoy more than one thing. Come on now.
My God.
We got to be pigeonholed. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't share this part where I got into, when I went to school in Philippines with an idea like I'm going to pursue theater in university. I missed the entrance exam to be as an international student because I didn't know the language of Tagalog. So I applied as a native student, like a local student, and I didn't know half the answers because it was all in Tagalog. And I was like, oh my God, I am gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna fail. And then the school was like, you can wait next year. I'm like, no, I don't want to wait another year. I want to stay in Philippines and figure this out. So I took the exam. I passed it. But of course, I didn't know much of the language, so my language was down. They're like, "Well, you are not. I don't think you'd be a very good actor or theater because you're not very good in language." I'm like, "I don't know your language."
Yeah, I can act in other languages, the ones I know.
So they're like, "We think because your maths and sciences were high, we feel you're best suited to be an engineer, chemical engineer, or mathematician." I said, "Well, can I transfer to theater after?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." So I got in this whole craziness of like being stuck in something that I didn't want to be a part of. But I enjoyed chemistry a lot. So that was my only highlight out of all the subjects. Maths was just hard. So hard. And so I was like, okay, now I have an outlet. I need an outlet. I need to do something creative. Like all my subjects was nothing to do with the arts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is there writing classes? Like nothing. This whole place is engineering. Like there's nothing. I was in the middle of nowhere. Apparently this university is known for like the top students when it comes to maths and engineering. So there's no distractions for anything else. I was like, no. The funny part was I was like, I want to, because living in Kuwait where we had no much of greenery, so I bought a forest photo with me, and apparently my university was in the forest. So I had a picture of a forest on my wall, and I'm studying in the forest.
You needed a picture of the city.
Or desert.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to get to the point where so there were like these few theater groups here and there, people would just form for fun. I'm like, hey, can I join your poetry group? Can I join you this group? And I had to pass all these tests, which had nothing to do with the arts. Like I had to streak, I had to have frogs being thrown at me, and I'm like
hazing,
all that stuff,
sorority hazing,
all
fraternity
that.
hazing.
I didn't know what it was. No one told me, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Can I just perform with you guys? No, you have to do that. You have to join us. And so I was like, oh, and then they were after me. They're like, oh, we can entice her. So I kept hiding from them and stuff like that. Like I didn't want to be part of that group. I'm like, forget it. I don't like acting. Thank you. Go away.
No, that was the move. You got to act like you don't want them. You flip it on them.
Oh my God.
And then they recruit you.
So I was like, all right, I guess this is my life. It's the end of my theater life or whatever, acting. And then one day they had a filming going on the grounds of my university while I was heading to my midterm exam for maths. And I was like, oh, what's this? I can spare 5 minutes. Which went longer. I talked to this one guy, like I always talk to people. I'm like, hey, so what's going on here? They're like, oh, we're just filming this show. It's called Ma'ala Ala Mo Kaya, and it's about all true life stories. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Do you want to be a part of it? I'm like, sure. You seem like you would like it. Like, can you act? I said, sure, I could try. And because it's been so long, I'm like, I started doubting, like, can I even act anymore? Yeah. He's like, okay, I'll be right back. Let me just talk to the writer. I'm like, writer? Then he comes with a script. He's like, okay, here are your lines. I'm like, but I don't know Tagalog. It's okay. It's perfect because they're actually shipwrecked in America, and this is a scene where they're meeting the locals and whatever, and you get to speak in English. I'm like, oh, cool. So I got to act in front of like these lead, like famous people of Philippines, and just started acting. And then after I was done, they're like, oh, you're pretty good, not bad. Would you like to join our talent circle? They call it the talent circle, where they bring the next upcoming actors every year. I'm like, sure. Okay, here's my number. Call me and let me know. So I call them, and then it started this craziness of studying and doing everything all day at university. And then as soon as it was 6 o'clock, I would go to Manila where the networks was at. Then they had workshops because they asked me, so what's your availability? So they worked it around my availability because they said education is important. So I went there, and then I spent all night, and sometimes we'd end at 3 a.m. doing workshops, and just they were grooming me to be one of their actors on television. And then I'd come home like early morning, and then I'd take a few hours rest, and then I go back to school. And I would do that every single day.
Did you ever make it to that midterm?
I did a makeup exam.
Oh, you never went, but you were able to do.
I never made it because I was acting. I was done. And then I was like, oh my. And then my parents agreed. They're like, sure, as long as you can keep studying. But then I caught a weird bug. That's what did it.
The acting bug?
Not the acting bug, but a real bug.
Yeah, what bug?
Like I don't know, something in the air. I don't know what it was. I was sick. I got sick, yeah. Anyway, long story comes short, I finally had to make a choice. My career advisor was like, which I didn't have before, but I guess he just appeared after the fact. I wish I met him before, but he was such a nice guy. Because my other career counselor was just like, you're only doing engineering and that's it. Because I said I need an outlet. I told him I need an outlet because during summer break I need to do some theater. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm not gonna let them get you to do theater. You're not getting any credits. They're not transferable. I said, it's okay. I just need some outlet. Yeah. So I can, when I go back to engineering, I'm not gonna lose my mind. He's like, no, you're not. You're not doing anything. I'm gonna make sure you're not gonna get to do theater. So I would call them like, I'm
very
sorry.
supportive.
So I think that's why I got sick. It was just too overwhelming, the whole thing. And anyway, the doctor misdiagnosed me. He thought it was something else. Also, as usual. It's not unusual, but it happens. Yeah. And so that's when he's like, you got to make a choice. You're going to lose both because you can't go through this again. So I chose acting. My parents weren't happy about it, but then they became supportive after the fact when I got my first paycheck.
Nice.
So anyway, back here in America, so I tried stand-up in Manila.
In what language?
In English. I did a little bit. It's called Taglish, where you add a little bit of Tagalog with English.
Sure.
So I was trying to learn Tagalog when I was there, and you had to if you want to get work. You can't just speak straight English all the time. And I didn't know how to be a stand-up comedian because I didn't have much exposure to stand-up comedians or anything to see. I didn't have much. We didn't have much shows coming to Kuwait. It was just whatever I saw was whatever I saw, but I didn't see any stand-up other than Ellen DeGeneres and Whoopi Goldberg was the only two people I could actually relate to. They were women and they were strong, and I was like, oh, that's fun. And then she had her own sitcom and I enjoyed it. Sorry. And so when I went to Philippines, the internet connection I had is terrible. Sorry.
So take a drink.
I should take water. And so
you good?
The only guy I saw live, thank you, was Rex Navarrete, and that was the only stand-up comedy I could watch live, and that was it. And he's a Filipino American, and then I was like, okay, I want to try to stand up comedy, but I didn't know how to do it. But I wrote a lot of poetry, and oops, you heard that?
You good?
I wrote a lot of poetry, and I said, okay, let me try to turn this into comedic form. There was this lady there that was like, hey, you want to join our group? It's called Venus Speaks. And I was like, I don't know what to talk about. She's like, whatever, just say a monologue. I'm like, where are we performing? At bars? At bars? I'm going to say monologues in bars? Like, yeah, I want you to just do whatever. She's like, it'll happen organically. Whatever is going to come out. She didn't use the words organically. This is my American way of talking.
Sure.
Back in Philippines, it must have said something else. So I said, okay. And then she gave me this notebook for my birthday. She's like, fill it up with something. I said, okay, I don't know what to fill it up with. She said, just write whatever, and then just say it out loud, whatever's in your mind. So because of that group, I started performing in bars and clubs and different places. It started with serious Shakespeare monologue, and people didn't listen, of course, but no one booed, which was nice.
Yeah, no one paid attention.
No, at least it didn't boo.
But that could be good. That's like practice, you know? It's like you're in front of a crowd, but they're not judging me because they don't even care.
They don't care. They only want to drink and have fun, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this is... And then, you know, after a few of doing these performances, I'm like, I really want to be heard.
Yeah, come on. I'm ready to be paid attention to.
So I started writing. So one day in Philippines, we have a lot of cockroaches that fly. And then I don't know how he made it to my apartment, but he did. And he started flying everywhere. And then I locked myself in my bedroom. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to kill him.
To get away from the flying cockroach?
Yeah, I don't know how to kill him. He's too fast. He's too big. I don't know. I didn't even want to touch him. I'm like, this is awful. So I was in like high emotions. So I started writing about it.
Yeah.
And that was my very first stand-up poetry.
That's cool.
And people started listening. And they all came up to me like, oh, this is so fun. We want to hear some more. So I started writing more and more and more. And then I don't know how I met this guy, but he has a show called Jojo A All the Way. And then I started performing on his show. And the best part was most of my fans were literature and poetry and like creative writing majors. Like
Right.
there were lecturers and professors.
Academic people.
Academic people were huge fans. And they were like breaking it down. I love how you did this and this. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to write. And they're like, we love the idea. And I was like, okay, I don't mind it.
I write about flying bugs.
It was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And so that was my first try at stand-up. And then when I came here, I just wanted to be a serious actor and just win an Oscar and go home, right?
Sure. You and everyone else.
Yeah. So I got into Meisner, Stella Adler technique. I mean, every technique out there I took. I don't think I finished. I don't think I took every technique, but everything I could afford, I did.
You got exposed to a lot of different techniques, which I think is good.
And a lot of bad techniques too, but you need to have I don't know.
What's a bad technique?
I don't know. A bad class. Like, I don't know.
A bad teacher more than a bad technique. Just,
I don't know. It's just, I wasted a lot of money. you don't know
learn.
until you try, right?
You learn. You live, you learn.
And then, I started just auditioning for a lot of casting directors, and they started laughing when I would do serious stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And that started opening my mind, like, am I funny? Am I trying to be funny?
Yeah.
And then
they weren't, were they, it doesn't sound like they were laughing at you. It
no,
sounds
they
like
were laughing. They were really laughing.
It sounds like you were just being funny without trying to be
even when
funny.
I'd say my name and they just start laughing, and I'm like, okay, something's going on. Like, who am I again? Am I supposed to be funny? Like, I started questioning, like, what am I sharing? Like, am I
something about your energy or something? Maybe.
Yeah, so I'm like, maybe I need to tap into this, and maybe I should focus on this thing. And it took a while for me to figure that out, until one casting director told me, like, after crying, he was crying because he was laughing so much. He's like, I've never cried in an audition, he said, from laughing.
Was it and it wasn't a humorous part that you were auditioning for?
That was a humor.
That one was.
That was a humorous
Well, that's
part.
good.
So he's like, I'm sorry, but he's like, you should do comedy. And then he pulled me aside, and he put his hands on my shoulders, like, looked in my eyes. You have to look into this. He's like, you're gonna do yourself an injustice if you don't.
You're like the third, fourth, fifth guest or someone who had a moment like that with another person who was like, yo, what you need to do is do comedy. You need to do stand-up. What you need to do is take a class at UCB.
What you need to do is get broke.
Yeah, so many people just, I don't know, need that nudge. Not that you were, I don't know.
It's not something, like, I knew I wanted, but I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did.
It seems like life is taking you in many, many directions.
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So then I started getting into more of comedy, and then I met this casting director for Frasier, and she was like, you know what, maybe you should do some stand-up. I was like, okay. I don't know anything about stand-up. She's like, just try something in front of me. So I did it, and she's like, oh, you're pretty good. Okay. And the next thing I know, she's like, oh, I got someone for you in Comedy Store. I want go and call her, and then you can be booked. And then I got booked the next week, and then I started performing there, and then other places, and it was very hard because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was just kind of figuring it out, like watching other people. Like, I was trying to, like, and then I read some books of Judy Kerr, and then just different stand-up comedians that would teach stand-up, like at SAG, and I was just and then at the end of the day, they tell you cannot be taught stand-up after all that, and I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. But I got a bit lonely because it was just very challenging just doing it and not being a part of a group. So I found a group of people. Then it got a little more fun because then we get to play around with jokes. But then they all quit, and then I was like back alone again. I was like, okay, this is sad. Then moving forward, I got into puppetry because I got into an accident where I tore the tendon in my ankle.
Oh no!
So I couldn't get hired for anything or work anywhere. Apparently, nobody wants to hire an injured person.
Unless you're gonna play an injured person.
Or even like a normal job, like no one would hire me.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? So I was getting depressed, and I was like, I gotta be creative again. Like I can't just sit around here. So I got into puppetry, and this guy, unfortunately, he passed away, but he was slimy and snuffleupagus. And he had a place called the Puppet School where we learned how to do puppetry. And oh my God, I found so much fun there. Anything I did just made me laugh. And And then when he passed away, I stopped puppetry. But when I finally got better, I started saying, okay, I want to take classes. And then all these classes were so expensive. And I spent a lot of money on all these acting classes. I was like, darn it, now I have to be on a budget. So I kept trying to apply for all these scholarships. It took me a few years. And I would go to every single time when UCB would show up anywhere, a talk, whatever. And I'll just keep watching and trying to meet them. Like, just trying to get a scholarship. And I would write letters every time they had openings, and I could never get in. And finally, after I think 3 years, I got in. And then that's when things changed for me.
A scholarship at Upright Citizens?
Yeah, they give diversity scholarships.
As part of the sketch program you were?
Improv and sketch. I went to both programs.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Simultaneously?
I did.
Wow.
I was in a hurry. I'm like, I waited 3 years, now I want to do it all.
That's cool.
Only thing is, I didn't know how to write sketch. So sketch was very hard for me to write because I didn't know how to write. But they if you want to take a writing program in sketch, they're really, I can't compare it to other schools because I haven't taken them, but they can make someone at least have some tools to know how to start
I took the basic class there, and I very much appreciated it, and I thought it was great. And
201 gets harder because they teach you how to deal with the political humor and then and all the different aspects. I don't watch much politics, which I should keep up to date if I want to be a comedian. But that was the hardest for me to do. But the 301 is where you get actors to perform your writing. And I never had that experience.
That's exciting, yeah.
It was and now I know exactly what writers feel when the actors just make your things pop. You're like, wow. It was such a beautiful experience. And I'm like, now I know what a writer feels. And I'm glad I took 301. And then we had a really good writing coach. And he was, apparently he's a really good director because he just did, Eric Scott, he did a really good adjustment on these actors on my sketch and everyone else's sketch. And I'm like, wow, this is magic.
Yeah, they're taking your words and they're not ruining it. They're actually making it better and taking it into
That's why I recommend everyone to take it if they can afford it or have the time to. It's another experience I never thought I'd have. I was just like, because I'm so used to being an actor, and I'm like, wow, this is what writers feel. This is what directors feel, and I loved it. It was a very new experience, and it really felt like birth. I mean, I never had a child, but it definitely felt like I had birth.
Yeah.
when it was done so well. I mean, these actors were great. But yeah, so they turned me to writing sketches, and it took me a while until I got into these groups I'm in right now. And these groups, these sketch groups, Soul Sister and Women of Color Anonymous, we write our own stuff. And every month, and there's no judgment, which is kind of fun. Like, everyone's welcoming them. And then if you want feedback, they'll help you. Or if they feel like it's going to bomb, they'll give you some pointers like, hey, maybe we should do this or that.
Supportive environment.
It's a very supportive environment. That's what I love about UCB, that they have created this community where they give you opportunities to meet other people and grow. And if it weren't for UCB's, like, especially the Inner Sanctum, which they have for open mics and stuff like that, if it weren't for them, I would not have met all these people that I'm with right now. Because I would go to every single open mic. Like, anything I do, I go extreme. I went to every single open mic because I was like, my dream was, it is, but it was like, I want to be in UCB. I want to be on the stage. I want to do everything I can to be a part of one of their teams. Like, and so these groups kind of help me, like, keep honing myself and keep growing.
No, it's great.
Like, even if I do make it or don't make it, I still am doing what I enjoy. And,
right.
And, there's a lot of aspects in who they pick, but the fact that I get to even perform at Inner Sanctum has given me a chance to be on Sunset as well, which I got the chance to, and Franklin. So they give a lot of opportunities for students. I think that's why I like comedy. I'm glad that I can do comedy. I don't know if I'm great, but I'm glad people are laughing, and I'm like, okay, I think this is okay. The doubts always come in your mind. You can't help it. You always like, your best is your last performance, and you're just like, hopefully you still do okay. I don't know. That thought always goes through my head, especially stand-up. When I used to do stand-up, I'd always feel like I'm going to die just a moment before I go up on stage. I always feel I'm going to die because I'm like, what if they don't laugh? I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And then once I'm on stage, then it's over. Then I'm fine.
Even if it's not the best performance, or it's not a great.
Or if they don't laugh as much, I'm okay. But just that moment before, I don't know what it is.
It's the build up.
Oh my God.
It's the build up for sure.
Stand up does that, but at least with a sketch group, and then also with characters, it's more forgiving because it's a character in a way.
Right. You're not judging me. You're judging this character.
Yeah.
I'm not this person.
I'm not that.
You can dislike the character. Yeah. It's fine with me. I'm not. Do you ever find yourself being competitive with other performers or jealous of other performers? Does any of that ever creep in?
No, I'm actually more driven. Like if I see someone that
inspired,
they inspire me, and then they drive me more to like making myself better. There are a few actors or comedians that I am like a huge fan of. There's so many to mention, but the one just recently I watched for Mother's Day, Betsy Sidaro is like, she's just amazing. I mean, I was gonna say something really stupid, and I stopped myself. But my cocaine. No. But she knows how to light up a stage.
Yeah.
And every time even when I watched her in this is it Netflix? I think it was. It was a TV show called Disjointed, and she had her own segment on the side with this guy. And it's part of the show, but every time she performed, she reminded me of Chris Cornell. Like everybody would like jump up and go crazy, like standing ovation every time, and everyone's like, "Wow, where does she come from?" I'm like, just come to UCB. There's so many people like her there, you know. But when I see people like them, I'm like, wow, what are they doing? I mean, everyone is different. Like I can't copy what she does because that's her, her branding.
But you could take maybe one tiny element of something that she did and kind of work it into your thing. Well, or just seeing how great someone is just inspiring to you to work harder and
it does. It definitely
going.
Pushes me. I mean, there's a lot of character actors that I meet that are not well known yet, but they just every time when they bring a great piece, I'm like, wow, I gotta bring something now next week. I gotta bring something else, and then I start like the more characters I build, the more I'm starting to like, okay, I need something else. It's not good enough. Like I need something else. And
what would you say is your like? I mean, obviously we're all constantly evolving, and you're a very curious, inquisitive person, and looking to learn more and do many things. But like, what would you say is there an end game? Is it to be on like an SNL type show, to have your own variety type show? Is it still to be get an Oscar? Is it all of the above? You just want to keep doing new things? What would you know if your Hollywood fantasies could come true? What would that be?
Well,
what does that look like?
I have been thinking about that lately because after a while you're like, okay, where am I going? I'm so busy. Now I need to go somewhere with it, because you can get really lost in just.
What's your 3-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan?
But I would love all the above since I've done acting and I've done comedy, and SNL never crossed my mind until recently. This one guy approached me. He's in the industry, and he's like, "Oh, you did really good character work. Have you ever thought of maybe auditioning for SNL one day?" And I was like, it never crossed my mind because for me, they're like above, like they're just like, I don't know.
Put them on a pedestal.
Yeah,
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
They're in a really high pedestal. I'm like, could I be that quality? Like, I don't know. And then when I started finding out like people from my school at UCB are getting to be on the show and being writers, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not as far-fetched as I thought it would be. It just felt like ethereal. Like I felt like it's just like I felt like I was back in Philippines, even though I'm in America. It's like it felt like it's impossible for me to even touch it.
When you see your peers like having success, it makes success in some ways seem more attainable.
Yeah.
Whether that's reality or not, I don't know, but
yeah, you see them doing what you wish you could do too, and then you just hang out with them in person and jam with them. You're like, wow.
And just keep doing what you're doing.
That's pretty awesome.
Just keep working.
I mean, I would ask him, as always, I would talk to them like, what did you do? Like, you just have, there's no secret to this. You just have to keep doing your reps and just keep at it.
Yeah.
And then one day someone will see you.
Hard work plus a little bit of luck and a little bit of networking, and you never know what could happen.
So yeah, I mean, That's true. I mean, as an actor, like you hope to be cast in the next play or something to be seen unless you put your whole show together. In comedy, there's just so many opportunities to like singers. There's so many open mics. Like if you have no shows, you could be performing every night.
Yeah, especially in LA.
So that's why I think I'm enjoying comedy. Is like there's a lot of opportunities to keep working on yourself.
No doubt. Why don't you tell the audience what you're working on these days, where we could find you, what shows are upcoming, how we find you on social media, and I'll let you get the hell out of here. I'll turn the AC back on also soon because it's getting a little warm in here.
Well, I'm with Soul Sister Comedy, and their social media handle is Soul Sister Comedy. My social media handle is Sassy Satya. That's SASSY SATYA.
Do it again slowly.
Sorry. Okay. You could follow my groups. There's Soul Sister Comedy.
This is on what platform?
On Instagram. And my social media handle is Sassy Satya. That's SASSY SATYA. Well, I'm called Sassy. I used to volunteer a lot with kids, and there's just game and improv. You know, I am Bobby. I don't know, bouncing Bobby or something. And mine was Sassy Satya.
Alliteration, the two words that start with the same letter or whatever.
So Sassy apparently stuck with them, and I just chose it. Now I got to live up to it. I don't know if I'm sassy or not, but
I think you might be a little sassy.
A little? Okay, I'm working.
You have
on
enough
it.
sass to use the handle. You're worthy of the handle.
Oh,
how's that sound?
I'm so glad. I always
try
to meet up with people. It took me 2 hours. I don't know how long we've been hanging out here for an approval. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And the other one is Women of Color Anonymous. And all these groups perform at different venues. Women of Color Anonymous performs every third Wednesday at 8:30 at the UCB Inner Sanctum. And
here in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard.
On Sunset Boulevard. We'll see if we'll... every 6 months they see if they want to continue groups. So until July, I don't want to have this being played like years later, like she's not there. Okay.
That's okay. They'll find you on social media, and I'm sure you post upcoming shows and people could find out more information there. Right.
And then Soul Sister Comedy, we perform, I think it's every fourth Saturday, Boom Bap on 9 p.m. Saturday. And then Pack Theater every, I think, fourth Friday. If I'm making a mistake here, just check our social media handle, Soul Sister Comedy.
All good.
And and then and Tao Comedy Studio, which is another great place for women who want to get into comedy. This lady, Bobby Oliver, has a book called Tao Comedy, and she tries to create this space to help women that want to do stand-up or whatever. So all the groups I'm with, they're all female of color, which you can tell with Women of Color Anonymous and Soul Sister. The names of it already says that. And so we have a show there with Soul Sister every Sunday, third Sunday at 8:00. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And when I do my groceries, I'm just kidding.
No, keep going. Keep going. What's on your grocery list?
I make sure I have, oh my God. I just recently discovered oat milk, but the brand that I forgot the name of, I took a picture of it, was so amazing. I had it on set and I was like, oh my God, it opened my eyes.
Yeah.
I can't go back to any other milk now. I mean, everything else is fine. It just tastes watered
Well, now
down.
that you've mentioned this milk that you don't recall too,
Looking
my
for
millions
sponsors.
of that too. Not sponsors please come my way.
Got oat.
I was gonna say, one of my millions of listeners will get at you in social media to tell you which brand, to remind you which brand it is.
Make sure I put oat milk in every sketch I do.
Right. Oat milk for life.
Oh, they'll have to fight over it. I'm welcome to options.
Anything else? Any other social media shows? Did we cover it all? We good? We good now?
Well, you can always look me up at Satya Vanii. Just my name. I'm in the middle of making. I have an old website, but I'm making a new one right now.
Cool.
A comedic one now.
Nice.
So you can find me there.
Well, I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing more shows, more characters.
I'm talking myself out.
You're tired? It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Don't fall asleep at the wheel driving home.
Come on, I'll be okay.
For sure. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Adam.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it. My conversation with Satya Vanii. Thanks to Satya for taking the time and for sharing her story with me. Just so you guys know, I've been looking closely at side-by-side photos of Satya and Marie Osmond, comparing their teeth to see if they look the same. And I could see it. Marie Osmond could definitely be Satya's teeth doppelganger. Anyway, I wish the best of luck to Satya moving forward and look forward to seeing her perform again soon. Of course, everything about this show can be found at peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. I think I'm done. So y'all have a good day. Be nice to each other out there in the world. And let's hang again soon. Peace.